Ciao everyone, and welcome back to Bites of Italy. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Scotty. Today we're coming to you from the stunning Ligurian coast after making our way from Turin down to Genoa.
That's right. We spent days wandering the narrow streets of Genoa, called Carugi, breathing in the salty sea air, and most importantly, eating our way through the city.
And you know what? Beneath the faded pastel buildings and bustling port is one of the most fascinating food cultures in all of Italy. So, for today's episode, we're sharing our 3 favorite restaurants in the Ligurian capital. But this isn't just a restaurant roundup.
Not at all. Each place tells a story about Genoese cuisine, where it came from, how it evolved, and why it feels unlike food from anywhere else in Italy.
From minimalist seafood dishes built around wild herbs to ancient sailor recipes reinvented for modern fine dining, today's episode is really about discovering the soul of Liguria through its food.
So whether you're actively planning a trip to Genoa or just dreaming about the Italian Riviera from home, settle in because this one is going to make you hungry.
Okay, let's unpack this because to truly understand this cuisine, we have to look at the geography.
Yes, geography is everything here. Liguria is basically a steep, narrow crescent of rock, wedged between the mountains and the sea, which means they historically had almost no flat land for cattle grazing or like massive wheat fields. You just can't farm the way they do in Tuscany or Emilia-Romagna.
And that geographical constraint is really the engine of their creativity because they couldn't rely on heavy land-based proteins or endless fields of grain. They turned to the sea for fish and to the narrow terraces for legumes.
Exactly. And most importantly, to the rocky hillsides for aromatic herbs. And to truly capture this minimalist foundation, we'll start with the old port of Genoa.
So, picture this. You have just finished visiting the Galata Sea Museum, and you turn a corner and stumble into a picturesque little square called Piazza Sant'Elena. It's exactly what you imagine when you think of a Ligurian village.
Oh yeah, the pastel-colored facades, green shutters, the smell of salt in the air.
It sets a mood for sure. And right there is Trattoria dell'Acciughetta. Acciugha translates to anchovy. This immediately indicates the close connection this place has with the sea. It's a small, simply furnished space with nautical motifs on the walls. In summer, you can also enjoy the spacious street-side terrace.
And the origin story here is fascinating. Back in 2015, a woman in her 20s named Georgia was working a standard corporate job in Milan. And she basically drops everything, moves to the coast, and takes a massive leap of faith to open this marine-themed restaurant.
That takes some serious guts.
It really does. And she brings in a young, highly motivated 2-chef team, and they build their entire culinary identity around the use of aromatic herbs and the nuances of flavor they impart to dishes.
It makes sense. Aromatic herbs are, after all, a cornerstone of Ligurian cuisine, a true hallmark of many regional dishes, from marjoram present in fresh pasta fillings and savory pies to rosemary. And of course, how can I not mention basil, which is the absolute crown jewel of Genoa? The whole is completed by garlic, Taggiasca olives, and olive oil, widely considered to be among the best in the world. 4 or 5 ingredients are enough to instantly feel like you're in Liguria.
And this is exactly what they do at Trattoria dell'Acciughetta. They use a few select ingredients, extracting full aromas and flavors. The cuisine is primarily seafood-based, but you'll also find vegetarian dishes. Additionally, there's always one meat dish on the menu.
I imagine it requires an incredible understanding of culinary chemistry to make a mix of just 4 or 5 ingredients taste this robust.
Absolutely. And that skill level really shows up in their must-try dishes. I mean, because it's called dell'Acciughetta, you obviously have to order the fried anchovies.
You won't regret it because they're truly delicious, so juice.
Exactly. But then they make this dish, the sage frischel.
Now, for those who don't know, they are ancient, savory Genoese deep-fried fritters.
Yeah, but here you dip these light, fluffy herbal fritters into the salty umami bomb that is anchovy fondue. The contrast is just brilliant.
Then don't miss their trophy pasta with pesto. They take pesto to the next level. The dish looks very simple, but I heard that preparing the perfect pesto is not that easy.
Because pesto isn't just a sauce, it's an emulsion. You force the fats from the pine nuts, olive oil, and aged cheese to combine with the water and essential oils from basil leaves, and the margin for error is very small. If raw garlic is too aggressive, it spoils the flavor of the dish. If pecorino cheese is too heavy, the salt masks the delicate sweet notes of basil.
And at Trattoria dell'Acciughetta, they've found the perfect balance.
Yeah, and they apply that exact same minimalist approach to their seafood, too. They change the menu constantly based on the day's catch. My favorites are tuna dishes because tuna always arrives perfectly pink in the center.
And they even apply this herbal philosophy to their desserts. For example, they make a basil panna cotta, literally treating the herb as the star of the dessert.
Let's not forget the wines. The wine list is decent and pays attention to small natural wineries. It was here that we discovered the biodynamic wines of Santa Caterina, a hill in Liguria, located just outside a hamlet of Sarzana.
Biodynamic farming is really interesting in this context because it goes a step beyond organic.
How so?
Well, it treats the entire vineyard as a single closed-loop ecosystem. You aren't bringing in outside fertilizers at all. You're using compost from your own animals, planting cover crops to fix nitrogen in the soil, and often timing your harvests to lunar cycles.
Wow, it's hyper-local.
Extremely. The result is a wine that tastes hyper-specifically of the soil it was grown in.
It's a love letter to the region.
That's right. They also have an English menu, and the staff is always smiling. Oh, and a little practical tip for anyone listening. Trattoria dell'Acciughetta is so intimate that calling ahead to make a reservation is non-negotiable.
Now, before we head deeper into Genoa's historic center, quick little pause here. If you're enjoying this episode, make sure you subscribe to Bites of Italy so you don't miss future episodes.
We've got a lot more coming, from hidden trattorias and regional specialties to local wine, street food, and all the culinary history that makes Italy so fascinating.
And you can also follow us on social media where we share extra restaurant finds, behind-the-scenes glimpses of our life in Italy, and plenty of food photos that will make you hungry. All the links are down in the video description.
Okay, now let's delve deeper into the historic center. We'll take a short 5-minute walk from the main square Piazza dei Ferrari to the small square at the foot of the Church of Sant'Agostino. There you'll find a restaurant called Forchetta Curiosa, which translates to Curious Fork. The name is apt as it serves traditional Ligurian cuisine with a touch of creativity.
It's located right across from the Teatro delle Tosse, which gives the place a vibrant, electric energy.
Totally. You walk inside and the colorful walls are plastered with old photographs of Genoa and signed headshots of local actors who are regular patrons of Forchetta Curiosa. There's a laid-back vibe here, deeply rooted in the local art scene. In the summer, they also have a few tables outside, right on the square, overlooking the church.
But do not let the casual atmosphere fool you, because their sourcing is relentlessly academic, and they use these high-quality ingredients to perfect traditional peasant cuisine. Which brings us to the centerpiece of their menu, a dish called Cappon Magro.
Originally, this was literally just fishermen's trash, right? Fishermen would take unsold fish scraps, stale bread, some cheap root vegetables, and just mix it all together. Classic survival food.
Exactly. It was purely functional food. But at Forchetta Curiosa, this bucket of leftovers transforms into a highly engineered architectural marvel. The chef builds a veritable tower on the plate, layering white fish, green beans, beets, carrots, and shrimp. The whole thing is complemented by salsa verde, a vibrant, tart green sauce made with parsley, capers, anchovies, and vinegar. Carefully arranging the layers transforms the humble dish into a visually stunning, multi-layered flavor experience.
It's so theatrical. And the theater continues with a tiny spherical pasta, native to the area called skukutsu. It looks a bit like a giant couscous.
Yeah, they serve it with squid, mussels, shrimp, and vegetables, but then they season it with curry. I have to admit, when I saw curry on a traditional Italian menu, I did a double take.
It sounds like modern fusion, but it is actually a deeply historical reference. We have to remember that for centuries, Genoese sailors and merchants were dominating the Mediterranean and Black Seas, navigating all the way to the east.
The global trade aspect.
Exactly. They were bringing back exotic spices long before the rest of Europe had regular access to them. So, integrating curry spices into a local seafood dish is a direct nod to Genoa's history as a global trading hub.
And of course, as befits a Ligurian restaurant, pesto is a must. Here, they serve it with Testaroli pasta. Genovese Testaroli is wild. It's basically a thick pancake. They make a simple batter of water and flour, cook it on a hot cast iron surface like a crepe. And then comes the crazy part. The crepes are cut into diamond-shaped pieces, cooked briefly and then tossed with pesto. Their texture is absolutely unique.
Speaking of unique dishes, they also serve a dish called Ciao, a traditional hearty fish soup with shrimp, calamari, and mussels. You won't find it in just any Genoese restaurant.
And to finish this whole theatrical experience, try the panera, a coffee-flavored semi-freddo or semi-frozen dessert that is native to Genoa, so rich but so light.
But this Ligurian restaurant has been recognized not only for its cuisine, but also for its wine cellar. Their wine list is a journey through biodynamic and natural wineries throughout Italy. With our dinner, we had an excellent local white wine, a blend of Trebbiano, Malvasia, and Albana grapes.
So Forchetta Curiosa shows us how you can take the concept of leftovers and hide them inside a beautiful theatrical tower. But our final chef doesn't want to hide the scraps at all. He wants to put them front and center on a pedestal. We are moving to the ultimate phase of culinary evolution, the zero-waste mastery.
We head just past Piazza dei Ferrari to Trattoria Rosmarino, and this restaurant is actually a very unusual choice for us. In Italy, we try to avoid restaurants located in the heart of the main tourist areas, because these usually charge what we like to call the tourist tax.
Exactly. If the restaurant has a postcard view or sits next to a famous piazza, you are almost always paying for that location somehow. Usually, the price you pay is either mediocre food, inflated prices, or honestly, both.
Which is why we wander around the side streets looking for small, family-run places full of locals, often with handwritten menus. But Trattoria Rosmarino is an exception.
It is. First of all, it was recommended to us by a local friend from Genoa, which immediately got our attention. And somehow, this trattoria pulled off the impossible. The food was genuinely excellent, the atmosphere felt refined without being pretentious, and the prices were shockingly reasonable for the location.
Which honestly made us even more excited to talk about it, because finding a place like this in the heart of a touristy Italian city was like discovering a secret.
Now, let us explain to the listeners what impressed us most about this place.
First and foremost, it resembles a classic Parisian bistro. It is very elegant. You sit on comfortable green leather benches surrounded by bottles. The dominant greenery, besides evoking divine pesto, creates a friendly and very pleasant atmosphere. The outdoor seating area allows you to enjoy, in addition to the dishes, the beauty of the fountain in Piazza dei Ferrari.
The restaurant was founded by Felice, an expert sommelier who runs the dining room, and Chef Alessandro in the kitchen. They've even won a Bib Gourmand from the Michelin Guide for exceptional cuisine at an affordable price, which is huge.
It's the ultimate award for value. And that value comes from Chef Alessandro's radical approach to ingredients. Let's look at their signature dish, the brandacujon, a true Ligurian staple.
Originally, this is just air-dried cod potatoes and olives mashed together. It's survival food, but Alessandro deconstructs it entirely. He serves cod in a cream sauce alongside a whipped cod mousse, dusts the plate with dehydrated olive powder, and garnishes it with cod skin chips. That is a zero-waste philosophy executed at the highest level. This interpretation has convinced even the skeptics.
Among other classic Ligurian dishes, the menu includes, of course, trophy pasta with pesto, with a perfect balance of basil, garlic, and pecorino cheese.
Overall, as you browse the menu, you'll notice that tradition and the bond with the local area remain strong, but Chef Alessandro has interpreted them in his own particular way. For example, he makes ragu for ravioli from meat of the Cabbonina breed. This is a rare rustic cattle breed entirely native to the Ligurian Apennine Mountains. It's a direct investment in local biodiversity.
And when he makes panzotti, the traditional stuffed pasta, he breaks convention again. Typically, panzotti are served with a thick walnut sauce. Chef Alessandro swaps the walnuts for hazelnuts and binds it with marjoram. That completely shifts the aromatic profile.
And his Genoese minestrone? This isn't a generic muddy vegetable soup. He builds it on seasonal vegetables, small Ligurian pasta, and legumes. Then comes the crucial step. Just before the bowl leaves the kitchen, he spoons on a huge, generous dollop of fresh basil pesto.
I have to admit, soup without a tomato base just sounds like hot, watery salad water to me. But this soup is brilliant. By dropping cold raw pesto into hot soup at the last minute, the heat of the broth instantly evaporates, and the basil's essential oils make aromas explode. You'll experience the intense, sweet aroma of basil before the spoonful even reaches your mouth.
The varied menu is complemented by homemade desserts, ice cream, and baked goods, including focaccia. Be sure to leave room for desserts. They are all to die for.
I recommend the Liguria cheesecake, which captures the essence of this land. It is made with short-crust whole wheat pastry with rosemary-flavored flour, honey, and fig mousse, Ligurian sheep's ricotta, and Savona Canotto jam, made from a rare citrus fruit grown exclusively on a narrow strip of the Ligurian coast. Truly extraordinary.
And pair the meal with something from the wine list, which is decent, with several options by the glass. The labels emphasize local wines, but also range from beyond.
Just remember that this Bib Gourmand restaurant located right next to the historic fountain fills up quickly. So, book a table in advance by phone or WhatsApp.
Now, before we go, let's do a quick recap. First, there was Trattoria dell'Acciughetta with fresh seafood, wild herbs, and a philosophy that proves you don't need a dozen ingredients to create something memorable.
Next up was Forchetta Curiosa, a traditional restaurant serving dishes that are both deeply rooted in tradition and surprisingly modern.
And finally, Trattoria Rosmarino, our favorite surprise of the trip. Right in the heart of the historic center, it combines refined technique, excellent value, and a genuine respect for Ligurian traditions. 3 very different restaurants, 3 different perspectives on Genoese cooking, and together they tell the story of a city where creativity has always grown from constraint.
You really can't go wrong with any of them. But honestly, after spending time eating our way through Genoa, I feel like we barely scratched the surface of this city. Because one thing we discovered very quickly is that Genoa is not just a city for long, slow restaurant meals.
Not at all. Some of the best food experiences here happen in the middle of sightseeing, when you duck into a tiny bakery, a historic frigitoria, or a crowded little wine bar packed with locals.
Which is exactly what we're covering in the next episode.
We're staying in Genoa and putting together our favorite quick food stops around the city. So, if you want to know where to grab a delicious slice of farinata, a proper Ligurian pranzo while exploring the old town, or just where to stop for a drink after a stroll along the port, we've got you covered.
Make sure you're subscribed to Bites of Italy so you don't miss it.
And until next time, thanks for traveling and eating with us.
Ciao, everyone!